In our modern society, we rely on a vast transportation infrastructure system to move people and goods throughout our nation and the world. One of the mediums for transportation is water. Water also transports a variety of unwanted impurities, as it supports so many of our daily activities. Occasionally, these suspended particles can settle out in the water distribution network, causing a variety of problems. Regular flushing of the water distribution system may be one of the most effective tools a utility has in providing a clean, safe product to its customers. Frequently, flushing in response to dirty water complaints or taste and odor complaints is the quickest, most effective solution a utility has at its disposal. No matter how well the water is treated at the treatment plant, if the distribution system isn't properly maintained, including a well-thought-out and implemented flushing program, a utility can expect problems ranging from aesthetic complaints to more serious health problems. One of the reasons problems develop in distribution systems is because flow rates through the piping are not normally sufficient to keep the particulate matter suspended in the water. Water mains are designed to carry maximum flows for fire episodes or other unusual circumstances, so the normal daily flow is much too slow, which allows particulates and other material to settle and accumulate on the bottom of the line. Then, when a situation arises which does require a significantly higher flow rate, the settled matter is scoured from the pipe and reintroduced in a concentrated mass into the water, which causes dirty water complaints. Dead ends are another problem area of the distribution system. Ideally, water mains are looped or connected together wherever possible, as opposed to dead-end lines that simply come to an end. The looping allows for better flow conditions and prevents water from sitting and stagnating at an end point. These conditions can generate taste and odor calls, as well as dirty water complaints. Maintaining a chlorine residual is one remedy for this situation. However, this is difficult under these circumstances. Frequently, the only solution to these problems is to flush the lines often enough to prevent the buildup in the first place. A good flushing plan begins with a method of notifying the customers of the potential disruption in service, so they can take appropriate measures to lessen the impact. Some of the usual methods are local radio and television stations if they are available, newspaper notices, and leaflets distributed door to door if the community is small enough. Another possibility is to include notice in the bill if the utility has that capability. Regardless of the media used, information that should be included might be dates and times the areas may be affected, precautions to take if there are any, and names and numbers to call if there are any questions. The utility should make an effort to explain the reasoning for doing a flushing program and list some of the benefits derived. Special attention should also be given to notifying hospitals, schools, nursing homes, restaurants, and other places that might be more sensitive to the consequences of a flushing program. Because the flush disrupts the normal flow and is intended to scour the lines, it is expected there will be some discoloration of the water, and unaware customers may wind up ruining laundry if they are not properly notified. Typically, flushing is done in the spring when there is sufficient water supply and there is no danger of freezing conditions when the water is on the roads. Some systems may find it necessary to schedule flushing in the fall as well, depending on the particular problems the system encounters. Systems should be aware that chlorine residuals can be hazardous to aquatic life in streams receiving flow from flushing programs. The local DEP office should be contacted prior to flushing to ensure adequate measures are taken to protect the environment. Another requirement for a good flushing program is up-to-date accurate distribution system mapping. The maps should include all the storage tanks, main valves, fire hydrants, and blow-off locations throughout the system. There are a number of tools available for locating underground utilities. Generally, they use magnetic signals sent by a transmitter and picked up by a receiver a short distance away. The transmitted signal concentrates around buried metal conduit or piping. Line location can be estimated by lining up valve box lids, then more specifically by using the line locators. As the lines are located, they should be marked with paint or some means that is easy to see and follow. Frequently, a system will isolate discrete sections that will be treated as individual systems for flushing purposes. With this in mind, all present and future growth and additions to the system should be valved to allow that segment to be isolated from the rest of the system. This approach provides for adequate flows to do a proper flush sequence while minimizing the impact to other customers as much as possible. Once all the valves, hydrants, and blow-offs have been located, marked, and numbered, planners can begin sectioning the system off for flushing. If the system is large enough to break into sections, the flushing sequence should be broken into individual segments. If there are multiple crews doing the flushing, attention should be given to the planning so the crews are not depriving one another of adequate water to flush properly. Every step involved in flushing the segment can be detailed in writing. The steps should be in sequence and checked off as they are completed. A good record-keeping system will contain information like how long the hydrant or blow-off was run before the water cleared, chlorine residual, turbidity, and problems encountered with the hydrant if there were any. Any problems noted should be corrected as soon as possible. Fire hydrants are essential for public protection and an integral part of a water distribution system. Proper installation and maintenance of hydrants is critical for public safety. Blue reflectors can aid in hydrant visibility during emergencies. During the flushing program, regular maintenance can be performed on fire hydrants in accordance with manufacturer's recommendations. Fire hydrants can be broken down into two basic categories, wet barrel and dry barrel hydrants. As the name suggests, wet barrel hydrants are pressurized and typically used in areas where freezing is of no concern. On the other hand, dry barrel hydrants are designed to allow the hydrant barrel to drain in order to prevent freezing. This video presentation refers to dry barrel hydrants. It should be noted that depending on the make and model of dry barrel hydrant, it may be necessary for the hydrant to be opened completely when water is flowing for any period of time. The reason for this is to close off the hydrant drain or drip. When a hydrant is fully open, the barrel drain is closed. Failure to completely open the hydrant could result in erosion around the bottom of the hydrant barrel due to water coming out of the hydrant drain. If a hydrant must be throttled, it can be done with a valve attached to the hydrant. Fire hydrants can be further classified by flow and color-coded accordingly. Typically, a system is flushed starting from the beginning of the system close to the treatment plant or source, and working out toward the ends of the distribution system. Particular attention should be focused on areas where taste and odor or discolored water problems are reported regularly. Flushing the system during the night hours will be easier on the customers and may allow for better flow rates due to the lower usages through the system typically encountered at night. Some sources recommend that a blow-off be opened at the very end of the system and run the entire time of the flush, so the suspended matter is carried out continually. A concern with this approach is that there is adequate flow to flush the rest of the system properly. The recommended flow rate is a minimum 2.5 feet per second to 5 feet per second. The flow rate needs to be sufficient to lift and carry the suspended matter you are trying to flush. Care should be taken to ensure the runoff from the flush does not damage private property. Diffusers can be used to direct the flow away from problem areas and to disperse the flow so it is not a concentrated stream focused on a particular place causing erosion. Crews should also be careful to anchor the diffusers or lines in areas where the pressure can cause the line to whip. Another safety concern is vehicular traffic. Flushing at night should mean less vehicular traffic will be encountered, but traffic must be forewarned nonetheless. In areas where flushing may impact automobile traffic, signs and flag persons should be properly utilized. Proper warning includes traffic cones, signs, barriers, and flag persons. Customers should also be reminded they should flush their service lines after the main lines have been flushed in their areas. Another suggestion is to ensure that there is sufficient water to finish the task. The treatment plant operators should be notified so they can plan to produce water at a rate sufficient for the increased demand. System pressure should not drop below 20 psi during the flush. Before you begin flushing the system, you should check the condition of the finished water storage tanks. Specifically, you should check for adequate volume in the tank to conduct the flushing, and you should check the tank for sediment and debris. Excess sediment in the finished water tanks can cause problems with dirty water, especially during a flush, when the contents of the tank can be stirred up. All valves and hydrants should be opened and closed slowly to prevent water hammer in the system. Flowing hydrants should not be left unattended. On hydrants equipped with drain holes, personnel should check to ensure the barrel is draining. This can be accomplished by placing a hand over the outlet to feel a suction. If the hydrant does not drain properly, it should be noted and repaired as soon as possible. Areas of the system that may be prone to air pockets should have air relief valves in place. Typically, the air relief valves are located at the high points because air has a tendency to migrate to the higher elevations in the distribution system. It may be necessary to valve off parts of the system to achieve proper flow rates for flushing. This may be especially true in looped systems. In any event, be sure to return all valves to normal flow conditions after flushing. In summary, because of flow conditions and other situations which routinely occur in distribution systems, it is not unusual for the water quality to deteriorate as it courses through the system. For reasons ranging from aesthetic concerns to health regards, distribution systems require ongoing maintenance if the water quality is to be upheld throughout the system. An integral part of a good operation and maintenance plan for the distribution system is a well-planned and implemented flushing program. One of the first steps in a good program is notifying the customers throughout the system, especially those that might be more sensitive to the consequences of the flush. Care must be taken to lessen the impact as much as possible, including traffic safety, adequate water supply, and good communication between the distribution system personnel and the treatment plant operators. The flow rate for flushing needs to be sufficient to carry suspended matter out of the system. The recommended rate is at least 2.5 to 5 feet per second. The system should be flushed thoroughly from beginning to end. Any problems noted should be logged and reported to the proper personnel so the repairs can be effected in a timely manner. A good flushing program will go a long way in maintaining the quality of the best drink in town.